Alright, so I'm a big ass Watch Dogs fan. Even after Watch Dogs 1 didn't turn out to be the best thing ever, and it definitely didn't look like the famous E3 Watch Dogs trailer, I still think it was a good game. I actually pre-ordered the game and was not really disappointed by it at all, mainly because I didn't really look at the E3 trailers, but still, I think it was a pretty good time. I also got Watch Dogs 2 close to launch and loved it so much, especially the really fun parkour in the game. I fucking love that so much. So I am pretty biased towards Watch Dogs games, and I also don't have Ubisoft game fatigue. I'm not blind. I can see how similar most Ubisoft games are. They all follow the same open world formula, which a lot of people don't like, and that's totally fine. But I don't mind it at all. I actually really like the formula. But if you are tired of it, this game most likely won't change your mind, because at the end of the day, it's just another Ubisoft game. Now, first things first, this game, at least on PC, has terrible fucking performance. I have an RTX 2070 Super, and I usually get 70 plus FPS all the time with ultra settings in 1080p in every single AAA game. But in this game, I usually got around 40 to 50 FPS on ultra without ray tracing. And yes, without fucking ray tracing. I used a program to show my FPS and GPU usage, and my GPU was usually at 50 to 70% usage, which is surprisingly low. And my CPU never went higher than 70%. The worst part is that the performance did not improve that much at all on low settings. I got around a 10 FPS boost from ultra to low, but it still wasn't stable at all. Outside of a car, it's usually quite stable, but when you enter a car and start driving, you get a huge performance loss. This isn't new for Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 2 had very similar issues that still haven't been fixed. I don't know about the performance on consoles, but I assume it's bad there too. If it's not, you might want to check it out on console if you want something a little more stable. But let's move on to something more fun about the game. The play as anyone system is a really fun and well-made system. You can almost play as anyone in the game, except for some important side characters, I guess. And not just that, they are all unique and have their own voices. But you will also recruit a lot of people, and I have heard the same voice multiple times. There are a lot of different unique interactions that can happen in the world. For example, a scammer might try to trick you into buying some of their stuff, or a beggar will ask you for money. This won't really have an effect since you can't actually give them money, but it makes the world feel a little more lived in. You might also find a musician playing an instrument, and that person might actually have the instrument so you can play it at any time. But a lot of the times, they were playing like a guitar, but they had a saxophone. So I mean, it's not very consistent. But everyone in the game has their own thing they like to do. They even have a schedule for their entire days, so you can see what people are doing at any time. This is a dope feature and gives you a lot of possibilities for recruiting more people into DedSec. They even have friends and family that you can actually see them interact with. It's really awesome. There are some characters that are very similar, like a professional hitman that always has the same type of weapons, has the gun kata skill, which basically just lets you do gun finishers instantly like in Watch Dogs 1, and you also have a role. There are sometimes some changes, like better at stealth, but they're usually around the same thing. We also have the spy. The spy has a silent pistol, a special arm clock that will jam nearby enemies' guns, and a really cool spy car that can cloak and has missiles. And every time you find a hitman, spy or other type of character, they will all look and sound different from each other. Except for some with the same voice, of course, but that quite rarely happened for me. A really big disappointment for me in this game is how even after recruiting a hitman or spy, you cannot let other recruits use their things. It makes sense, but it also limits your gun and car customization. The most annoying thing about this for me is how I cannot give my hitman a silenced pistol even though I have the spy. So there is no way for him to use a silenced pistol, which is a real bummer. But other than that, I don't have a real big issue with it at all. I'm just a little disappointed. A plus side with the customization is the clothes variety. There are a lot of different shops with clothes, and you can also get unique clothes from different recruits in the world. You can give any of your guns paint jobs. But outside of this, there isn't really much else you can change. The story is probably the worst part of the game in my opinion. Now this doesn't mean that it's terrible, but it just isn't anything special and probably not something I will remember in a month. Actually, I wrote this script like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember anything at all. Okay, some things, but pretty much nothing. A big reason for this is because of the play as anyone system. Your characters don't really have much of a personality, and the voice acting in this game is just not good. I don't have much to say about the story. There aren't really any characters you care about in a story perspective, but I did care about some of the characters I recruited mainly because they had good skills. Especially Brian. Rest in peace, man. You were the best of us all. And Bagley, the AI you have during the whole game, was actually quite fun. And he did have pretty good voice acting in my honest opinion. The gameplay is quite simple and also very similar to previous Ubisoft games, which some people will not like, but I always find Ubisoft games to be very fun. You usually have to go to an outpost or base and get some kind of file, item, or escort someone. Or just kill someone. Escorting people can be incredibly annoying. Sometimes they are really slow and other times they don't move at all. This has caused a lot of frustration, and at one point I just left. I even tried to kill the person before I left, but I couldn't, so that was kinda lame. But no matter what, you can decide how you want to tackle every situation. You can be lethal and use guns or explosives to kill people. You can use stun weapons or melee if you want to be non-lethal. Or you might just not want to fight anyone at all. It is entirely your choice. The melee combat is quite simple, but improved from the earlier Watch Dogs games. Every character, except for the elders, has a 3-hit combo, a dodge and a grapple. So even if it isn't that deep, I still found it to be quite fun since some characters have different animations and fighting techniques. Personally, I prefer stealth, which is really simple, but it's still quite fun. You can crouch, take cover and do a stealth takedown by pressing a single button. You can also do a takedown by falling on someone, which I think is a fun feature that I randomly came across. It never tells you it in the tutorial, just fall on someone and you will do a takedown. I also love the cloaking gadget, since it makes me invisible for a short duration of time, which is great for avoiding scanners, drones, or just other enemies. You can also upgrade this gadget to last longer or improve your stealth takedown range. There are other gadgets in the game too that it can upgrade, like drones or the spider bot, but they don't really fit my playstyle. The gunplay feels really good, it's the best in the series. Sadly, it lacks customization, which would really make it a lot more fun, like adding silencers or better magazines or whatever. Now let's talk about a big part of Watch Dogs for me that they really do not give a shit about in this game, and that is the awesome parkour from Watch Dogs 2. Watch Dogs 2 had really smooth parkour with a great variety of animations. It felt awesome to run around in that game. But in this one, they removed a lot of the animations, so there are barely any left. There's no variety in the animations, which makes running around pretty fucking lame. This is really disappointing since I truly expected them to improve from Watch Dogs 2. So after all of this, what do I think of the game? Well, I think it's a pretty good but flawed game. It is not a Game of the Year contender at all, not even close. Ubisoft games rarely are, but it does enough to be a fun experience for me. I loved exploring the world and finding new recruits, but the story didn't really do much for me at all. Gunplay is satisfying, but there isn't really any customization for the guns, which sucks. And the biggest problem for me is the dumbed down parkour. But overall I do recommend it if you like the Ubisoft open world game formula. But I would probably not spend $60. I just used the Ubisoft Plus subscription. So I don't really use scores, but I would probably put it at around like a 7.5, 7. That seems fitting. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, feel free to give the video a like and maybe even subscribe. I'm sorry for not uploading for a while, but after my latest video there really wasn't a lot of news I felt like I could talk about yet. I could make more videos on smaller things too if you guys want me to. Like news, like just a random news that comes out like Cyberpunk being delayed. I could make a video about that or whatever you want. Just let me know. Also, I stream sometimes on Twitch, so please check me out there and maybe even give me a follow. Link is in the description. Thank you, have a great day and goodbye.